Bonji Vacorja. Hello, everybody. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. And this is Fireside Chat 204, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And as is customary, I start with a prayer for peace. Gomar Shiakon a fud na crinne. Gomar Shiakon in our jaili agus in our jirha. Gunairi lin len ar kid garmaka. Gamij buikas jiv jehe chivdaka is spirit chivdaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities. For peace, as the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into ploughshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So let me see where you're all from. So, coastal Dublin, hello Carl, Dorset, England, Berlin in Germany, Denmark, South Wales, Wyoming, hi Jill, or Liz, sorry, and Lloyd from New Zealand up early, very nice. Anyway, lovely to see you all, and today we are going to the UK. Windy Orkney. Hi, Eunice. Lovely to have you here. Falmouth. Beautiful. Hanover in Germany. We'll see where other people are from. Anyway, we are going to the UK, and let me introduce my guest this evening, and it's Mike Wilson. So, Mike, you're very, very welcome.
Thank you, Eimear. Thanks for inviting me to join you in conversation.
So where are you?
Where am I? I'm in the northeast of England, the furthest northeast of England you can get in Berwick-upon-Tweed, Northumberland, just on the Scottish border, Scottish-English border.
And are you from there?
No, I'm originally from Edinburgh, believe it or not.
So what's I've never been up that part of the UK. So what's your landscape like?
Wow, it's a big seascape with the holy island of Lindisfarne just in the distance. It's just there. And I see that every day as I walk along the seashore. And then there's the River Tweed just there. And so it's sort of a gently undulating landscape. With hills in the distance, with open fields, with lots of trees scattered about, and a few forests here and there, with waterfalls and rivers. Lovely.
Oh, that sounds absolutely beautiful. So, do you visit Lindisfarne?
I do.
So
I do.
I've heard. It's obviously a monastery there, etc., and probably the early Celtic Christians were there, and I know the Vikings did a bit of raiding. So, and I know it's tidal, isn't it? So, just tell us. I'd love to go there. So, tell us about Lindisfarne.
Well, it's where St. Cuthbert lived with his community of monks, and St. Aidan, and it's where I suppose it's the cradle of Celtic spirituality in the northeast of England, and from there it spread. I think you know, from this side of the country at least, it spread, and it's such. I mean, the whole island is a reserve now. It's a nature reserve, including the water surrounding it. So it's such a nature-rich environment, that attracts thousands of people every year, and people come on religious pilgrimage and they walk barefoot across the mile or so across the sands from the mainland to the island. I've never done that yet, but I will one day, I'm sure. And other people take a more sort of maybe a druidic or pagan pilgrimage to the island, as I've done so many times. And it's such a lovely space with a Gertrude Jekyll garden right in the middle of it. Some lovely, exquisite garden that she designed all those years ago.
Who was this woman?
Gertrude Jekyll. She was a garden designer,
Okay.
English garden designer, and a bit like Monty Don.
Okay.
Maybe you know.
I do know Monty. Yes.
Or yes, or who's that other famous person whose name I can't remember? Anyway, her garden is there, and it's lovely just to sit in her garden with all the roses and herbs on a summer's day, which I do.
And it's open to the public, is it?
Yeah, all open to the public.
Oh, beautiful.
And
well, one day.
They make mead on the island as well.
Sorry?
They make their own mead.
Oh, beautiful. So are people living on the island, or is it like...
No, people live there. It's a very small population. I'm not sure how many, but maybe less than 100 people live there.
Oh, wonderful. I'm always fascinated with tidal islands that, you can only go across when the tide is out. You have a certain window to do that. We have an island like that called Eimear Island off the coast of Connemara near Clifton. And I spent a weekend there once, and it was just magical. But just that lovely notion of being able to cross when the sea allows, when the tide allows. Just beautiful.
And in the middle, between on the causeway between the mainland and the island, there's a little box on stilts. That's for people who try and brave it when the tide is coming in, when the tide races in, and it happens quite often. The people get stuck halfway. Their car goes under, but they go up into the box and wait for the rescue guard to come. And,
oh my goodness.
But people are safe. No one's had there've been no bad accidents. It's just been people learn their lesson, I guess.
Does the tide come in quickly? So once the tide
fast. You think it's far away, and it's very close. And I remember on the mainland, even with the tide coming in, when I was sort of walking on a beach not far from the island, with the island just in view, and I saw a mother and her two children playing ball, and the wee boy had a ball, and it bounced right off into the sea, into the rock, near the sea, into rock pools. And I thought, and he was so upset by that. I thought, I think I'm going to run and get that ball. And I ran to get the ball, but by the time I was coming back, the tide was up to my waist.
Wow.
It wasn't far out. So that's how quick the tide comes in.
That's very fast.
And the boy got his ball.
Oh, what a hero, Mike. That's wonderful.
By that time, he was enjoying something else, and I don't think he even bothered about it. So
It's so kind of you to do that. So tell us about your background, your spiritual background, and how you found Druidry and how you found Obod.
Wow, that's such a big question.
I know. Start at the beginning.
It's a great question, and it always makes me nervous. But I'm not quite sure how I found Obod exactly, but I think it found me in some sort of weird way. But my spiritual background, I guess it's always been with me, because as a family, we lived a lot near the sea in nature settings. I was I grew up in nature settings, as many of us did, in the order, I guess. And when I left school in Edinburgh, I went to London, and I did various things before I went to university, so that I took more than a gap year. And I actually read theology first. And I was interested in it. In some ways, I still am interested in it. But I don't think I ever had a faith as such. And so I read theology and as a first degree, and then I read theology again as a postgrad degree. And it's during that time that I suppose I was sort of a bit of a lost soul. I was looking for a place to belong. I was looking for a type of community, I think. And I was in and out of so many monasteries in the Benedictine Augustinian tradition. And I was in and out of monasteries, in and out of Buddhism. And then even in and out of the Theosophical Society for a while. I was in the TS for a few years. So I was a quester or a searcher, I suppose, at that young, tender age of 19, 20. And then it was during my postgrad theology, and I read pastoral theology. So that meant I got to read some psychology. And I did a course in the psychology of spiritual experience. With a wonderful Jesuit called Brendan Callahan. And it just opened my eyes to the whole interface between psychology and spirituality, especially the psychology of Carl Jung, analytical psychology or depth psychology. And then I think after a few more years, I thought, I'm just going to have to train as a psychologist now, too. That's what I did. And I did a couple of, I did a conversion master's degree in psychology, and then I did another master's degree in transpersonal psychology and consciousness. And alongside a couple of psychotherapy trainings that I did. So I became a perpetual student, I think.
A collector of master's degrees. So did you then work as a psychologist, like in private practice, or what did you do?
Yeah. I worked, first of all, well, simultaneously, I think, in education, training therapists in further education, and then higher education, and then worked in a clinic in Edinburgh for a good many years as part of a staff community. It was a community clinic, really, where people could come to receive affordable therapy.
Yeah.
And then gradually over the years, maybe it took maybe 20 years for me to move into private practice, which I still do somewhat. I'm beginning to step away from private practice now. In fact, I'm stepping away from it a lot. And since the pandemic, everything changed when everything began to operate in Zoom.
Yeah.
I've been stepping back, but not completely letting go, and writing more. So I'm sort of looking, I suppose I'm in that sort of transitional space now of thinking I'm writing more than I'm doing therapy and psychology. So it's beginning to, things are changing again, as they always do. They're part of my journey, I think. But the Druidry question, when did I come to Druidry? I think it's very strange, this one, because when I was living in London and studying, I was also interested, and when I was a member of the TS, when I met a group of people who called themselves Pythagoreans.
Okay.
And I was a member of all sorts of esoteric groups at that time, and this group, they were so interesting. They all sat in a circle, and they all, I think, if I can remember, they passed around a stone, or maybe a candle, and maybe a chalice of water, and some bread with salt on it, like earth. It was like the four elements, very elemental. And I only met with them once, and because we were invited to join them for a meeting, and then that was the end of that. And I think something of that stayed with me, and so I came to Druidry, I think, on the back of that in some sort of way. But also I was looking for a path that embraced more the natural world, the moon, the sun, and the stars, and nature, and place. And I had an inclusivity about it, where the whole community were involved in ritual, not just people sitting observing people doing ritual on a up there, somewhere up there, on a platform in the east part of the church, and that's, I think, what drew me. And so I applied to do the Bardic grade, and it fitted with me completely. Fitted. And I just loved it, and I still do. It sort of makes my soul sing, and I think it sort of it creates that it allows something in, I think, of the mythological world for me, because. And I felt this in particular during the pandemic, when I went through the whole Bardic grade again, just listening to it on a headset. On all the walks I did, I went through every week again. I did it quite quick in a way. It was like a refresher. It was like I did one every 2 days. One course every 2 days, and then the practices. But I suppose the point I'm making is that it's that nature connection, and it's the nature connection combined with a teaching, with teachings, and the stories that are interwoven with the teachings that somehow just come together, and it's just one thing. There's no this or that. It's just one whole thing. And so I would find myself standing in the middle of a golf course, and suddenly I'd hear Philip Comgon on the CD saying, "Now when you're ready, do this." And I just, okay, I'll just do it now. It was lovely. And so to backtrack, when I joined a number of years before then, it somehow just connected me to the natural world in ways that I hadn't found myself connected before. It was such a deep, sort of visceral connection. I think previously I was an observer more, but maybe not just an observer, but an observer more. But with Druidry, it brought me more into my body, and it invited me to engage with the natural world in a more embodied way. I think that's it.
And just in case people misunderstood, you did all 3 grades, and then you went back to the Bardic grade.
Yeah.
So you took your time with the other, going through, just in case anyone thinks that, because some people like to go fly through the course. It's not to
Oh
be
no,
rushed.
I didn't fly through anything. I took my time, Eimear, because we all take our time, don't we, with the grades. To be really honest here, I didn't even think of grades.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking of grades. I was thinking of connection and deepening.
that's
So
beautiful.
for me, it didn't matter how long each wordslide took.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking of time
yeah.
or quickness. It was such a spiral deepening right from the beginning. And my meditations at the beginning, the only place I could do that was I could go really at home, that is, other than out in nature, was in the garage. And so, the garage is completely empty, other than a pile of logs, up against a couple of walls. And it was such a lovely setting, this old sort of brick garage.
Mm-hmm.
Open the door to a nice place, with a little candle sitting there on the floor.
Beautiful.
And I did so many of my meditations in that space, and I just loved it, and I still do. But
Beautiful.
now I take my meditations to anywhere I can.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty, is that you can meditate. It's possible to meditate wherever.
Yeah.
So you talked about. So do you belong to a grove or a seed group where you are?
I do. I'm a member of a seed group, but I don't get to it very often because I live quite far away, and driving to the seed group every week or every month is quite tricky. And I'm not great at driving at night.
Mm-hmm.
But I have done. But I do, and I do belong. Yeah.
Do you have a daily? So do you have a? I suppose you did say. Do you have a daily practice that's particularly druidic?
Yeah, I do. But mostly I don't think of it as druidic. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's so integrated into me that I just think this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
For example, the other day I was walking not far from the house down to the river, and then up a path, and just up this path in the wood to the right. There, I heard a number of years ago, I heard some running water, and I knew it was a well that had been diverted into a cattle trough, as so many springs are. Springs are diverted into cattle troughs, so it's quite often up in this part of the world, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day, I walked up, and there was hawthorn growing at that site. There was willow growing at that site. All the trees that you would expect to grow at a sacred spring or well. So I just turned to face the well, and then words come out, and a little ceremony happens, and that's it. And I think that sort of happens every so often. Maybe with all of us, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
We just pause and stop and think and pray and meditate. Or, in the bird that lands on the fence beside us, we wonder whether it's a bird and someone else.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
That is beautiful.
So that's
Angela says, I'm still in the Bardic grade, and I'm finding I remember something in a previous course and have to return to it. There's no way you can hurry this practice. I'm really discovering much connection. It's interesting having conversations recently with Druid grade members, saying a number of them, having completed the Druid grade, have now gone back to the Bardic grade, and they're discovering so much more things they might have missed the first time. And that's the beauty of this, is that you can go back again and again and again. And I think it's so beautiful. And Julia, Julia.
Oh, Julia. Julia, hello.
So she says, I use my cellar for daily practice. And this is really interesting. it's in the earth and stone and so peaceful. And it's funny how we always kind of think of dungeons being bad or cellars or deep, dark, damp places, but actually you're closer to the you're down in the earth, and there's something really, really powerful about that. Really,
Something
really
cave-like about that, isn't there?
yeah.
Into the cave of the earth.
That's right. Yeah. And then Pat says, it's interesting. I remember when things stopped being druidic and started just feeling natural. I thought it was a good sign. I was managing to remake myself with some good habits. Yeah, I think that's so true. It's that integration that that lack of self-consciousness, or you move into being rather than just being an observer of yourself. So, oh, that's beautiful. Sorry, I cut across you there. So I was just wanted to weave in some of our comments into our conversation. You talked about the interface of psychology and spirituality. Can you just expand that a little bit more?
Yeah. I suppose, for me at least, it's that sort of that relationship with the empirical and the non-empirical, I think. Or put it another way, it's the relationship between the mind and the activity of the mind and something that seems to be more about mystery. And it's that sort of crossroads, that sort of the horizontal path that we're on and the vertical path that we often aspire to, do often aspire to. And it's that crossroads, that middle point, that I've been intrigued about and passionate about for most of my life, I think. And the work of Carl Jung in particular seemed to make sense to me in relation to the what he'd written and spoken about, the transpersonal, the transcendent, the mystery, the depth, the underworld, the other world, the life of the soul, the life of the so-called ego, and I sort of went into a very long Jungian analysis. When I discovered, a few years after I discovered the work of Jung, I was introduced to his work in that seminar, a course that was at the university. I went into a long Jungian analysis, and it somehow became an anchor for me. And a way of talking about psychology of spirituality, or spirituality with a mind and a soul, I think. And I took a deep dive into the whole area of the philosophy of religion too, and the philosophy of spirituality. It's just where I've lived for decades now. And then this thing called transpersonal psychology that I encountered in the maybe early 1980s, and that took me on a similar journey from another angle. And it somehow, the transpersonal psychology, because it also has a research route to it, it sort of opened a door to the research on consciousness. I suppose that I was interested in the research for the mind, and so, and that's really the journey that I'm still on in some way. Not as intensely as I was, but every so often I come across something and it engages me.
Matt has a question. Where should I start reading Jung?
Well,
I'm going to put in the
Memories, Dreams, and Reflections.
Yes.
He wrote the book Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. Gives you a deep insight into his life and his work. I often refer to that book. I've got 2 copies, in fact, and one almost sort of falling apart, and the other sort of newish. But nearly everything is in that book.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So, where would you say? So, your psychology and your spirituality and druidry. Where can? Because I know obviously a lot of the Guers have psychological elements, exercises, thinking, philosophy, and all of that. Okay, maybe have you done all of this in your book?
Have I done all this in my book? This book, you mean this book?
The one, yes, Portals into Deep Imagination.
Yeah,
I'm going to put this up as well.
Yeah.
So, what is the book about? So, I assume it's. I know, but for the purpose of our conversation, where it sits with you as a druid, as a psychologist, as a transpersonal psychologist. Here's a chance to plug it.
Yeah. I maybe won't plug it too much, but
oh, go on. Don't be so modest.
Well, I'm just thinking that this book, it arose by chance. I think I made it by chance, or if there's such a thing as chance. But I started. I stuck a huge piece of paper on one of my walls in this space here, 2 meters square, and I started just doodling things on it, the things that I felt connected to me on the Druid path, which was most of it, and the things that I kept on revisiting from my years in psychology and transpersonal psychology and my study of Jung, and also the stories of the Celtic stories. And I sort of thought about them for quite a few years, these stories, and I wondered how they fitted with my own expression of druidry, how it all fitted, with a heavy sort of psychological emphasis. I suppose I'm sort of a Jungian druid, or I'm not a Jungian analyst by any means, but maybe a Jungian druid. And gradually it sort of all came about where I've just mapped everything week by week around the year, with a different theme on every week around the year, with all the festivals in place, going through each of the festivals into 5 or 6 weeks of exploration of themes related to the festivals, and some not so related, and the plants and the trees. And I wove it together, and I took a deep dive into dozens and dozens of Celtic stories, Scottish, Irish, and Welsh, mainly, and the academic stuff I could get my hands on, about the Celts, the actual Celts, and not the stories that were written about the Celts that were somehow imaginal, but the actual Celts. Who were they? And the little we knew about it, the better, in a way, for me at least, because it meant that I could bring my imagination into it all. And that's what the work is. It's a weaving together of the Celts, depth psychology, and the natural world, nature connection. And so the book is a weekly journey through the year that starts where you are in the year, and it goes right through the year. And at the end of every week, there is a practice or two practices that relate to the themes that are mostly connected to the natural world. And that's the book. It's a pilgrimage.
Beautiful, beautiful. And of course, it's lovely that it starts wherever you are the time of the year.
Wherever you are. Yeah. And this week, I've just opened the book this week, we're on cultivating susceptibility to mystery. So that would be about how we just open ourselves more and more to the great mystery of life, and how we can really take a radical step in that direction when we're outside.
How do you engage with mystery?
In several ways. One is through dreams, because it's in the dreaming life, I think, that we and I know that my conscious awareness is lying flat, literally flat on the bed. Yeah. So my conscious awareness is lying flat, and something else is going on. And so I work with dreams. And I trained in dream work many times, and I've done dozens of courses and read hundreds of books and on dream work. But my approach is quite simple. At the end of the day, after all that, my approach is, where does the dream sit and live in my body? What's the feeling of it? What is the message from this feeling? And a few other things as well. And that's how it works for me. So that's one way that I connect with mystery. Another way is through divination. Divination practices. And one actually divination practice that I sort of I made up, I suppose, just came through the writing of the book, because it's divided into the number of weeks of the year. I then made I made the same number of cards, which each of the themes on them, and I had created a card deck for myself. And I should sometimes use that at random sort of card shuffling and take one or three or something. And other times I will work with objects, from natural objects, and working with divination in that way. And
with your objects, do you have a bag of objects and you randomly pick them, or
bag of objects?
A bag of objects. Beautiful. I do that for storytelling.
Yeah, I have a bag of objects, and I have a bowl of objects, and I have a range of pieces. Some. Well, we know all the objects we connect: stones, pebbles, acorns, the usual. So I work with objects. Not so much with the tarot. I do have 3 sets of tarot, and I do love the tarot, but my pull is more towards other forms of divination. And I think through meditation, just through sort of emptying myself as fully as I can and allow something in, and meditation in the natural world. And then fourthly, I suppose, through a sort of connecting with the natural world in a symbolic way. By that I mean, visit a favorite place that I've been to hundreds of times, and then sort of create a threshold crossing, whether it's through a gate, past a tree, and maybe say some words or leave a gift. The gift may be water. And then ask a question, or even take a dream, and then interpret whatever comes or happens or sings, or as an interpretation of my question and dream. And then I'll return through the same gate crossing So it becomes a sacred space in the space. In the space, as if I'm dreaming in the space, and allowing the space to somehow interpret me in some sort of way, and then come out of the space, leave some water, and go home.
That's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always something that's the mystery is always there as well. So
Always
there's something
there.
engaging it, but it's not about unveiling the mystery so that all is revealed and we know everything, because we need mystery.
We do.
It's like soul food to
we do. Yeah. And the way I think of this more and more is that the mystery, I mean, I write about mystery a lot in the book. I refer to, mystery with a capital M, and I think personally it's, well, I can only do so much. I can only bring myself to the threshold, and wait and see what happens if something happens. I think it's maybe about humility, I guess, at the end of the day. It's about,
and I suppose no investment in outcome, that whatever it is you go in there, something or nothing. And nothing is not nothing, it's something.
Yeah, that's it. No investment in outcomes. I like that. That's it, isn't it? No investment. Yeah. I have a funny story. Can I try to say the funny story? It's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time. You'll know why it wasn't funny at the time when I say it. I'm also writing about the River Tweed, or not writing about the River Tweed. I'm writing from the river. I'm writing toward the river. I'm in the process of doing this walk to the source of the river, 113 miles, and then 113 miles back. But when I started, after about 20 miles, I'm still at about the 25-mile mark, but after 20 miles, I found myself on a not the wrong side of the river, but the pathless side of the river, and I was high up on this embankment. That must have been the embankment was as tall as an oak tree, and I tripped and fell all down the embankment into the river, face down, and my spectacles flew off, and I couldn't see a thing. Well, I could, but it was all blurry.
Yeah.
And I wasn't injured at all, and I felt completely okay. I was fine with it, but I immediately went into, what does this mean? What does this mean? Rather than ouch, went into, what does this mean?
So you landed in the water and you were wet.
I was wet. I landed, and my spectacles disappeared, and I never found them. Okay. This is a different pair. But something remarkable happened, that took me back to that same point, which was, of all that walking alongside that river, with the river, looking, noticing, stopping, taking lots of notes, walking back again, to and fro, dozens of times. I never once saw a salmon leap. But at that point of falling, I got up and I sat on the edge, on the rocks on the edge of the bank, and a salmon leapt right there in front of my face. And that for me was such a magical moment. And I couldn't believe it. The salmon leapt right there, directly in front of my vision. And it took me to those ancient tales of the salmon of wisdom. and it was such a moment. So that the following day, I went back to the spot, but from the opposite side of the river.
Okay.
Because I wanted to see what had happened from a distance.
All right. Yeah.
And then these osprey just appeared from nowhere, and they were calling to each other, circling around my head. It was such a magical moment. And then I'd returned to that site so many times. It's such a magical thing. So I suppose walking with the river, it's being open to mystery, I think, isn't it? It's about being open to mystery. And I'm so glad I fell down that embankment, because otherwise I would have missed something.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm writing about rivers at the moment, and I'm also writing about trees.
That's beautiful. Have you read, David Bramwell?
Yes, I do.
Well, he has done some beautiful Adventures in Utopia
Yeah,
podcasts.
I've listened to them all. Yeah.
But when was it? The Winter Gathering of 2019. Yes, this was the last one before COVID. He gave a presentation at the Winter Gathering, The Cult of Water, and it was on his journey along the River Don back to the source.
Okay.
So well worth having a look at. And he talks about Doncaster, where he was brought up, and the Don being the goddess, and very much polluted in Doncaster because it's an industrial town. And then you had Vulcan, a statue of Vulcan up on the metalworks, just the juxtaposition of that god and steel and metal and all of that. You have the polluted goddess. But really, he got a standing ovation. Fascinating. So your story, this is also fascinating. Going back to the source, and the source of rivers is so often a mystery. How does it start from a little spring or a little hole in the ground? I don't know.
Extraordinary, isn't
and
it?
There's a story about where Finn McCool was brought up by the druidess and the warrior, these two women, in a secret place in the Slieve Bloom Mountains. And the source of the River Barrow, which is one of the Irish rivers, is a well, and you cannot find it. And if ever you do, a deluge will come down upon you. And I'm always fascinated, that need to go back to source. And I suppose it's the walking along. You may never, I suppose you can find. Did you actually or have you completed your journey yet?
No, I'm still on it. I started the journey at the spring equinox last year.
Okay.
So I'm doing it very slowly, and I plan to complete it at the spring equinox next year.
Okay.
Because I want to be at that spring, at the spring equinox.
Beautiful. Yes, beautiful. Wonderful. So did you say 120 miles of
113?
113.
Yeah, and then 113 back. I may get the bus back, but who knows? Who knows?
So how many miles do you do a day if you're along the road? Because it's not easy, because there's no road, I imagine, and
there's no road. I've done a few, because I go back and forth on the same track, maybe 5 or 6 times, because I want to experience the river at different times of day.
Yeah.
So it's not a linear journey. I'm not doing it as quick as possible, of course, but so maybe 10 miles a day.
Okay.
That's not so bad, but it takes me a long time. It takes me about 6 hours to do that, because I'm stopping a lot.
Yeah.
I don't feel as if it's a long way at all.
Stopping takes time. And do you do this once a week, or do you do it once a month, or how often do you do it?
It depends. It depends on the weather.
Okay.
I don't like walking in the rain, and so maybe, I don't know. I'll probably do a bit this weekend, and then maybe a bit in a few weeks after that. It depends. It depends on the weather, and it depends on other factors, I think. But I do love the river, and it's really, it's sort of, I don't know, somehow it's sort of woven its way into me, the river, because I've been given so much close attention to the river and who lives there. And when I say who, I mean trees and birds, and that I feel I could never leave it. I can never leave the river. even though we've had thoughts of moving to the Highlands of Scotland, it feels almost impossible to do that, because the relationship has now been forged with a wonderful river.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it certainly hadn't in New Zealand, and I don't know if in Canada, where rivers have been given human status or equal status with humans. And it's a bit like I don't know what it's like you cannot abandon your river now, is what I think you're saying.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's what I'm saying. And also, what's come out of this, in part that what's come out of this, and it's also come from another direction, the suggestion of maybe doing some, helping the river in some way. And so I'm just about to, with a group of people that somehow just fell together because we're all passionate about the same thing, the river and the health of the river, as we're doing some monitoring of something called river flies.
Okay, go on.
And river flies are wee beasties that live in the river, and they're canaries of the river. So when you monitor the number of river flies in the river, the different river flies, and maybe there's about 8 different river flies in a particular river, you get an indication of the health of the river.
Okay, yeah.
And so I managed to get some funding to do this with a group, and we're training later on this year with people across generations. I won't be the oldest, and I'm certainly not the youngest, and there'll be young people there, I hope, age 15, 16 with their mum and dads, also putting their wellies on, going into the river, swishing the water about to see if they can find a larvae of a dragonfly or someone else, and then count the numbers, fill in the forms and put them online into an online scientific database. So they go into a proper scientific database that's available to anyone, anywhere, and it goes into a whole national survey of the health of rivers.
Wow. I've seen them do that at Kilkenny. I remember when Environmental Week, and they had different samples of water, and then you could look at them and see who was living there, who was, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So it's all arisen out of a love for the river.
And it's interesting, you're talking about the salmon leaping, and you can see a visible salmon on the osprey, and then the herbs going, and then this invisible world underneath, to be made visible. I think it's just fascinating. And when you talk about krill populations dropping, and therefore whale populations dropping, and because of the overfishing, etc., it just amplifies or highlights the importance of everything, even the wriggly things, even the things that bite, all of those, that everything has a role. I still haven't worked out. Cockroaches challenge my compassion.
They've probably challenged me too.
But even wasps, who I don't like wasps because they've decimated 3 times my beehives, but I've seen them clean plants of aphids. So I think, wow, they're really powerful. I know what they do, lots of good, except they can be a little bit greedy. But to be able to just, to reveal the wealth of life or lack of beneath the water. But it's teeming with life, and what you want it is to be teeming with life, or the right.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
And they just have those indicators, like those canaries.
Exactly that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. There's so much to experience, isn't there? And there's so much to learn, and I've just come back from a week in the Highlands of Scotland, in one of the forests up there, the Abernethy Forest up there. And I've been going there for years, to the same place, exactly the same place, and I do the same walks for years. And there's an ecologist who lives up there who I bumped into. I didn't know the ecologist by name when I first bumped into him and his wife a few years ago now. But now, I know him by name, and we go for walks, and he teaches me so much about the ecology of place that I can't wait to get back to the forest so I can bump into him again.
Oh, wonderful.
And last year, up in the same forest, I met a group looking at fungi, and I was so intrigued about what they were doing on their hands and knees, scrabbling in the forest on their hands and knees, that I became not part of the group, but one of the facilitators of the group. It transpired was a professor of mycology. And we went through a lovely walk through the forest, and he taught me so much about fungi. It mind-blowing. And now I know that every tree has a fungi related to it, connected to it. Isn't that extraordinary?
It is. I remember when people would insult somebody and say, all you are is a fungus, eating stuff. And I mean, we know the edible mushrooms, but what do you call her? The mother tree, Susan Simard.
Yeah, Simard.
Yeah. When I read her book, and that blew me away, because she discovered, the connections with the mycelial networks and mother trees, etc. And she had such a battle to convince her colleagues that she wasn't crazy, and talking about diversity within forests, etc., and how that promoted health and all of that. And now it's only in the last, 10 years that it's actually people are listening and hearing and recognizing the intelligence of trees, talking about it like a dedicated fungus to a tree, and then all the others, how they all interconnect. It's mind-blowing, and how arrogant we are to think that we know more, or that
absolutely, yeah.
So Steve says, where I live, we're losing our water at a rapid pace. We're losing all of the critters, wildlife, fauna, along with the loss of water. It's having a tremendously negative impact on our health and landscape. We need the balance of water and all the other life provides for our environmental well-being. Don't know where you are, Steph, but yeah, that is quite sad when you can see that. Yeah.
Lovely to see a message from Penny there, Penny Billington. Hello, Penny.
Enjoying the conversation.
Yes, I missed that one now. The scrolling has gone down a quick.
I'll bring it down for you. What does she say? This has been a fascinating talk. Thank you so much. Then Sylvia says, how wonderful to learn about the Helping Your River, Mike. What were you saying, Eimear, about the status of rivers? I'm so fascinated. Blessed be the sacred. What I was saying was that I think there must have been what I was saying. In New Zealand, I can't remember the name of the river, but it was granted. You can't grant it human status, but on a par, because it's not human. I think that would be an insult to the river, but that it's been granted equal rights to humans. And I have a feeling maybe one or two in Canada. I'm not so sure, and maybe
they're given person status.
Personhood. Thank you. I say Mimi has just put that in. Yeah. And I think there are more and more countries. It hasn't happened in Ireland yet. But,
the Magpie River in Canada.
Okay, the Magpie. Okay, I knew there was one in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're interested, we're all interested in that. But Robert McFarlane, his book "Is a River Alive?" It tells the story about this, and it's such an extraordinary book. I love his work, especially this book. Where he writes about the river as who.
I love that. Is the river is who rather than what? I think that's beautiful.
Yeah,
and Pat says, who lives in Northern Ireland, it's scarcely a river in Ireland. There's scarcely a river in Ireland or North you dare to drink from these days. Yeah, I think it's appalling.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have been walking, I can't remember where, but in the last number of months, seeing a river. Oh, look, I can see the bottom. It's clean.
I know.
It's it's more noticeable, and that there was a time when rivers were always clean.
It's a strange thing, isn't it? I find myself thinking that too, that sort of being joyful to notice the river is clean. It's there's something in that about, for me at least, about it should be the baseline that river's clean.
That's right.
It should be the baseline, and we all know about this, don't we? And it's such a troubling thing. The pollution of rivers is such a troubling thing. But I have regular conversations with our water board, and the same person phones me every month. I think is his commitment, and I think we've agreed to a conversation every month to talk about the state of waterways in Northumberland.
Okay.
Because I'm so interested in so hundreds of people, and I just want to know all the detail of what's happening. I just want to know when and what and how and why are all the outflows sort of spilling sewage today, and why has it gone on for 20, 30, 50 hours? I want to know about all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what's being done to correct it and what the problems are. And it's not always the water companies that are at fault, because the infrastructure is so poor and so broken, and it doesn't always belong to the water companies, and so but they get the blame. And it's such a big thing, isn't it? It's such a big thing, bigger than any of us, that it has to be fixed at some point, but it will take time, I think.
Yeah. There's a number of people, Morgan, before we finish, we've come to the end of our time. I regularly do park cleanups along the river, and there's always a crew who go out onto it. A lot of the stuff they do pull out is astonishing. Pat's, and this is really sad, Loch Ney is dying. That's up in
I know. That's very sad, that. A bit like Lake Windermere in England.
Oh, is it the same there as well? It's Loch Corrib in Galway, and that's from Sitka spruce, the leaching from non-native trees into killing the fish life. We need to wake up. But I suppose what we do, it's nice just to see what people are doing in their own area, just even the smallest thing. It reminds me of, that story about the starfish coming in the sea and being on the beach, and there's a little girl throwing them in to the ocean, and somebody says, well, you're wasting time, it's not going to make any difference. And she picks up a starfish and she throws it in. Will it make a difference to this one? And somehow it's the little bit that we can do, and being more mindful about our riverways. I think, it just, God, loads of time is the idea of walking the rivers. And there are places with river walks, but I love that notion of taking time to start at the mouth and then walk back to the source. You can do it in places like Ireland and Britain, because the countries aren't so big. But to be able to, and then to discover what's there.
Yeah, it's a soul-centric journey, I think. It is a type of pilgrimage. You walk into the source, and you can see that at so many levels. The source of my own life, the source of the river's life, the source of the beginning of a journey, or whatever. It's that sort of thing. Walking to the source of something, or to someone, and then returning to the estuary where it pours out into the sea to vanish and mingle with all those salty waves. And
there's a liminal place, I think it's wonderful. Lloyd says one of the sweetest waters he had was from a river in Dundee, the River Dee in the Highlands.
Beautiful, that, yeah.
Yeah. And the Great Salt Lake is almost gone in Utah. That's what Steph is saying. We're doing everything we can to block data centres and educate citizens on how to plant natively and conserve water. Sadly, we're losing the battle, she says. That is so sad. Yeah. Anyway, we could go on and on and on and on and on talk about this.
It would
Get
be
people.
lovely to go on and on, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It's been such a joy talking to you, Mike.
And with
And
you too.
uh,
Thank you.
so I'm going to I let you say goodbye to everybody.
Well, what do I say? And thank you for joining in the conversation, and for your thoughts, and while you're listening to our thoughts and our words. And it's been just a pleasure sitting here with you all, and thank you so much, and go well, and deepen into your spiritual path, wherever that takes you. And wherever you are in the world, dream well, journey well, until another time. Thank you. Eimear, thank you so much.
What was a joy talking to you.
A privilege sitting with you. I was so terrified to sit with you, to sit in this space. It's taken a whole year to get here, I think.
It's more than a year ago when I asked you.
More than a year. But it's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Anyway, I'm going to send you back to the Vale. Don't go, we can look at the comments after we've gone offline. So
yeah, okay.
I just say goodbye here to people. So listen, thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I hope you're enjoying Bealtaine, and maybe you're getting better weather. I think I'm here next week, am I? I'll just check my calendar. Yes. For another Fireside Chat. So in the meantime, please be well and have a good evening or good morning or good afternoon, or if you're watching a recording of this chat. And until we meet again, Slán go fóill. Ihuwa.